At first, I just wanted fragrances that smelled clean and brought in some compliments. But eventually, I started to chase emotion. I started to chase the artistry. I started to chase more depth from my fragrances and fragrances that were unforgettable. This right here is the journey from designer lover all the way up to niche addict. Stay tuned.
That's it, hit night, 22 cents, get your vibe just right.
Welcome back to the Twilley's 2 Cents channel. So, like I said, today we're going to be talking about the fragrance journey. You know, yours may look like this, and to also the newcomers that's new to collecting fragrances, yours may look like this as well. You start off with your designers, and then you move up to your niche, and you probably got some Middle Easterns in between. So, starting with part one, this is going to be your designer, your more compliment phase of your journey, in which what I tend to notice that when usually people start collecting, the most common question that they have is, will it get compliments? They start to search out things like top 10 most complimented, top 10 fragrances for guys, for women, things of that nature. My journey kind of started like that as well. And also, it also had a little bit to do more so with the price too at that time. So that's the same exact way that my fragrance journey started, especially in the beginning. I hit up YouTube. I was trying to see what was the most popular fragrances at the time. I had already started collecting as a kid, but it was kind of few far in between. Had probably like 1 or 2 to like 6 bottles throughout my entire life until I got old around COVID time when I really dove into collecting. But those fragrances that I did start off with was things like Givenchy Gentleman Only, and this one was a cheap one that I wouldn't necessarily say cheap, but at the time it's around your average fragrance price of like probably anywhere from like $60 to $98, but something that was still unique and not also like everything else that everybody else was getting. Although I wanted something to draw in some compliments, I still wanted something that was a bit different from what everybody else was buying. And this right here, it's like a freshie with incense in it, which moves me directly into the other designer fragrance, which was the Acqua di Gio Profumo. A lot of people know about this one. This is a lot of people's favorites. Unfortunately, it's discontinued, but like I said, as far as designers, I'm pretty sure a lot of you all's journey starts here. It's easy to go to Sephora, start to smell things that's in the store. So this stage is where people start to realize that fragrance can, change your presence. At this stage, you're also still looking for compliments. That's, probably the most thing that you're thinking about at that time. But you also want some versatility, you want some freshness, you want some things that still stick out, so you're not reaching for things that everybody else gets, like the Sauvage and things like that. You're trying to edge out and be a little bit different, so you're probably grabbing some flankers of some of the more popular, headlining fragrances of whichever brand that may be. Another thing about these designer fragrances are built to be, immediately likable. So you go to the store, you spray it, smells good. Hey, I like that. I want to buy it. That's usually how designers are. And what you'll be able to tell as we move more up into the niche, those are the things that your nose have to develop to. You have to spend a little bit more time with it, and you have to be a little bit more thoughtful about how you apply it and what, reason you're going to apply and things of that nature. But we'll get there soon. So part 2 of my journey moved into, the Middle Eastern fragrances. And with these, for me in my journey, it was more so about, hey, I'm starting to sample some of these niche fragrances, but I may not be necessarily ready to pay those niche prices. So the kind of middle ground in between moving from designer, but before getting to niche, would be the Middle Easterns like Lattafa, the Armafs, what else do we have? Haramain. Those, because a lot of times they tend to dupe or clone more popular fragrances like the Creeds, the Baccarat Rouge, 540s, or whatever you call it. Those things, Middle Easterns would be, I would say, a great midpoint or a bridge until some more high class luxury niche type fragrances. So a few I have here. One I have that I really enjoy from Lattafa is Maahir Legacy. I think this is supposed to be something close to Sedley, I believe, but I never really even smelled Sedley from Parfums de Marly. But what I can say about this is your fresh, spicy, minty, very masculine type of smell. Great for the summertime, great quality for the price. So Middle Easterns, you're usually looking at around the price of anywhere from like $25 up to like $65. Great for the quality that you can get for some of these fragrances. Another one, if you've been in the community, you know that Club de Nuit Intense Man is a big one for things like getting you in the ballpark of Creed's Aventus. And with that, you are able to jump into the world of more expensive, luxurious fragrances at a fraction of the price. You got to be kind of careful in this stage because you can, start the obsession here, especially with the price point that you can get Middle Eastern fragrances at. One thing that you might find yourself doing is you start to accumulate a lot of these, and then as you accumulate back to back to back to back, even though they are cheap in price, you will notice that over the long haul, you probably will have more fragrances sitting on the shelf, and all that money that you spent on the majority of those Middle Eastern fragrances, you probably could have saved some of that and put it towards that, niche fragrance that you actually want. But another thing that I can say about Middle Eastern fragrances is that it's not all about, cloning or duping. You do find some originality with some of the things that, a Lattafa may put out or Armaf may put out. And in that, you continue to experience some more uniqueness, something that's still going to set you aside from the designer space and still give you a bit of flair. You can still, go out there and search out what your scent profile may be. There's a lot of tools that you can go on to type in some of your favorite notes that you like, and then you'll probably see some of these Middle Eastern fragrances pop up. Another thing that I would say about this phase right here, you start to branch more out of the compliments and more into, okay, what's the performance like? How close is this to this batch? Especially with this one right here. A lot of people like a certain batch of Creed's Aventus, and however close that they can get to that original batch, they will search out a clone or a dupe to get that experience. So that's another good positive that you can have from these right here. But the only thing about that one is you're either gonna test it out yourself or you're gonna have to wait for other people to go out there and get it, and then you'll have to take their opinion on whether, how close said fragrance is to this said fragrance. When you reach this phase right here, you go from having about, I would say 5 to 8 bottles in your collection to now having about 30 to 40 bottles in your collection now. But now we get to stage or level 3, your niche fragrances. Now we've reached the point where fragrance is art. I mean, even before so, all fragrances was art, but more so with these niche fragrances, you tend to dive more into quality notes, how the blend is, how things mesh well, how does a vanilla support this tuberose that you may have in the fragrance, how does the spices work with the ooze, the woods that you have in whatever fragrance that may be. This is where you're more so into the experience of the wear of the fragrance instead of just really the compliments. Don't get me wrong, you can still get compliments, especially with a lot of niche fragrances, but it's not really about that. You don't really care about the compliments so much anymore. You care about how these make you feel personally, and do they deserve to actually be in your collection without just wasting a bunch of time, just buying a bunch of bottles and then being somewhat, yeah, it's an okay fragrance. Now you're into searching for fragrances like, hey, I need that show-stopping fragrance that makes me feel good every hour on the hour that I wear it. It uplifts my mood. It does a lot for me. At this stage, you stop worrying about so much as, whether other people will like it or not. Like I said, it's all about you. You start to appreciate more challenging notes, especially like the ouds, but also other notes that you may not see in a lot of designer fragrances, probably like some weird notes that you probably never heard of, like Akigala wood, which is becoming more popular, but was really, I don't know, it may be in the designer space now, but I know it was really, kicked off in the niche space, along with some other notes as well that, aren't so common to, the common nose. Like I just said, you're gonna start asking yourself, how does this make me feel? At this point, even though I know we're talking about fragrances, it becomes more than just the fragrance itself. It's deeper than just smelling better. It's deeper than the scent profile. It's about the overall experience, the artistry, the meaning behind what you wear, the story behind what you wear. For example, this one is called Rich as Croesus. What do you know about Croesus? Who is Croesus? How does that story influence what goes into this bottle? These things you can now start to see that. The person behind who wanted to put the bottle out, the nose behind who put these notes together. You dive into who those people are. But back when you were in this part of the journey, you weren't really worried about who was the perfumer of this. You were more so just really worried about the compliments. It's all part of the progress. Up to this point, you're probably an addict. And the more niche you get, you're probably a niche addict. For me, in my personal journey, what I can say is, do I gravitate more towards purchasing niche fragrances? Yes. Would I stop from buying Middle Eastern or designers? No. But would my focus be more towards niche? Yes, it would be. I've got to the point now where I don't need everything that comes out. And I'm definitely going to sip on anything, because blind buying, that period is over. Blind buying was a part of this phase right here. Blind buying is not a part of this phase, especially when you're going for fragrances that's going to be upwards of more than, at this point, like $200. It used to be where niche fragrances were in that $130 to $150 range, but as time goes on, we already know how the economy is. Prices are going up. So yeah, you have to be more mindful about how you go about acquiring said fragrances. So in closing, designer fragrances make people notice you. Niche fragrances make you notice yourself. At first you wear fragrances for compliments. Eventually you wear fragrances for emotion. Every fragrance lover starts with the freshness, but some of us end up chasing art at the end. If you enjoyed this little quick journey video, let me know, does your journey look like this as well? Did you start off with the designers, move into some more affordable Middle Easterns that, kind of clone or dupe the niche, and then moving into the niche and kind of honing in on what it is that you actually like, what your scent profile is, what your signature scents are, and noticing that you don't need everything, but you do need those few bottles that make you feel special. And you go out there, you save, and you put them on your shelf. So if you want more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, chat it up with me in the comments, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.